Now, despite of my attempts to bring the truth to light, the Planetside community is still deceived by this one myth. The NSO, nanite system operatives, is a bad faction. Of course, this was never true at all, but the statement has since then become like a bandwagon within the community where people would rather hop on and make fun of how bad NSO is instead of actually accepting the truth. After all, it is a community that when someone asks, "How can I use a knife?" responds by saying, "Alt F4. They don't care about the truth. But as an NSO player, it really hurts my real, existing heart that people are missing out on playing NSO because of it. That is why today, I am once again going to address all the myths related to NSO and debunk them with a sound reasoning, so that for the once and for all, we can put the end to this myth that NSO is a bad faction. Now the first myth that we will debunk in this video is one of the most widespread misconceptions of all times. NSO weapons are bad. Now people believe in this myth because excluding the very few outlier weapons that are actually good, most NSO weapons either sacrifices a fire rate or damage and a magazine size compared to the other faction's weapons. And although they come with a built-in soft point ammo 50m max damage range, it only shines in a very limited situations, causing many people to say that NSO weapons are straight up downgrades. And in fact, I did say in my last video that half the NSO weapons are garbage. But about this, I have to point out that we have been overlooking this one very important detail. That is, NSO is a support faction. Yes, that is right, and all these weapons are support weapons, so of course they had to be intentionally kept weak, otherwise they would be strong and support at the same time, which would be broken. So it would make sense why PMG-200 sports its pathetic 22 magazine size as opposed to 50 of similar SMGs, because it also does support. It would make sense why SR-150 compared to other semi-auto sniper rifles trades 42% fire rate for a worthless 3% damage increase, because it's also a support. And it would make sense why the built-in soft point ammo secretly comes with its downside, slow muzzle velocity, because support. So there you go, the first myth and truth. The statement NSO arsenal is weak is false. As the truth is, NSO arsenal has to be weak because they are support weapons. And we know for sure that they are support weapons because they are weak. Now that you understand that NSO weapons arsenal is perfectly balanced, it is time to move on to the next common myth, the NSO's defective infiltrator cloak. Now it has been addressed many times that NSO infiltrator cloak is just defective, whereas other factions' infiltrator has a smooth and seamless outline. NSO infiltrator for some reason is just so blocky and full of edges, and is so much easier to identify in comparison. It is so often that even if you are crouching perfectly still, an enemy can still see you just fine. But when it comes to this misconception, I first want to ask you this question. Why are you playing infiltrators? Now if you are keeping up with the forum recently, you know very well that infiltrator class at its current state is very broken. Between having a one-hit kill weapon as an invisible class and SMGs and scout rifle backstabbing you in one frame, infiltrators have become a menace to the well-being of the game. So why are they playing infiltrators, those vile, disgusting planet men? And then, when their stupidly overpowered infiltrator cloak is not working on NSO, they even dare to complain about it? And why should you really believe what these sweaty infiltrator abusers are saying about NSO infiltrator cloak? No. So do not listen to the petty complaint that NSO infiltrator cloak is not working. Because the very truth is, the NSO infiltrator cloak is a premium, semi-transparent skin. Now for the long time, I have religiously defended Chimera from its criticisms. When haters said its hitbox is absurdly large, I pointed out its ability to equip mid-shield. And when they complained about the awful secondary gun position, I pointed out that it is a biomimicry, an innovation inspired by nature. And since then, with the series of band-aid buffs, the Chimera now is almost on par with other main battle tanks. Because now, when a deployed Prowler can fire 2 fast-moving rounds, Chimera can do that just with 1 at a time. And when a Vanguard has extra 1000 health, Chimera gets extra 500 health. And when Mag Rider can slip away from a bad situation, Chimera lets you talk your way out of anything. Like I just ran over this guy by accident and he's very angry. Wow dude, just give up driving? But then I can just say, this potato tank has a massive hitbox it's hard to avoid. The tank has no deceleration. I tried everything not to run you over. And just like that, he ate everything up. So now the only thing Chimera is missing at this point is a faction specific ability so that other tanks can just stat check you in 1v1. And then it finally happened in the August of 2022. The devs finally revealed the Chimera's new ability, Power Spike, that will finally make Chimera on par with other tanks. And now it's almost end of the following year and we still have no Power Spike. Did the devs just forget about it completely? But don't worry guys, because it is actually a myth that Chimera doesn't have its ability, as it had its own ability all this time along. Yes, that is right. The Chimera's faction specific ability is Unbreakable Heart, Unrelenting Will, and the spirit of never giving up. So you can go on toe to toe against other MVPs. And now that we have debunked the myths about the NSO tank, we will then move on to the NSO's unique fighter aircraft, Dervish. Now as you probably know already, people complain about Dervish all the time, saying that it is just a flying pancake. The second you try to fly this thing on a live server, every single enemy just drop what they are doing and start focusing you immediately, because everyone is just so hungry for the juicy pancake. And meanwhile, its bottom side is coated with butter, so every time you land for repair, it just keeps slipping away from you, falls on a carpet and gets wasted. But of course, this too is a myth guys. Because as you know, a dervish is so easily flipped upside down, whereas a pancake isn't, as it just gets stuck to the bottom of a pan. So therefore, they clearly are not the same. And aside from it, you really cannot complain about Dervish because it has everything other ESF has to offer. Like in a place of a reverse maneuver, it has access to a Dervish maneuver. It has a large frontal hitbox of a Reaver, slow speed of a Scythe, fatal collisions of a Mosquito, maneuverability of a Liberator, and a top-bottom hitbox of a Bastion Fleet Carrier. And on top of all these things, it also gets to be a support. So that should be enough to convince you that it is not true that Dervish is a flying pancake. As the truth is, it is a flying waffle. Now similarly to Chimera and Dervish, the NSO's unique hoverbike, Javelin, has also been a victim of the community's misunderstandings, as it is often mislabeled as not fun to play. But if you ask any NSO players, they will always say that this is completely false. Sure, Javelin gets one-shotted by literally everything in the game, and most of the time it happens with zero counterplay available to you. But it also comes with an excellent mobility that lets you sneak up to anywhere in the map and easily invade the infantry play areas. And along with the extremely chill community that is like the polar opposite of a tryhard, Javelin is actually fun. Now that is of course only until you try one of the two notorious Javelin weapons that will, if you try them, inevitably result in your KD dropping to 0.1 and getting reported and banned for intentionally feeding the enemy. And I know what you just witnessed pretty much overshadows everything good I said about Javelin, because these weapons clearly are not intended for human use. But there is of course a reason that devs left them at the current state, as these weapons on these extremely mobile platforms are very tricky to balance. Because if devs were able to buff these weapons, Javelin would actually become very fun and fair to play, and more people would switch to playing NSO, which would result in population balance problem finally getting solved, causing the game to be more playable, stopping the population decline with more people returning to the game. And then of course, one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, the game is dead. So obviously, we can't have these desperately needed buffs. And so you just have to enjoy the Javelin as it is. Because it is simply not true that Javelin is not fun. Javelin is fun. For enemies. So that was the myth and the truth of NSO. And hopefully I was able to convince you to finally play NSO, as it is not a bad faction like the community says it is. But before that, I just want to address the one final misconception, that NSO is a support faction. And this is obviously a myth, guys, because if you think about it, there hasn't really been a supportive element about NSO except for repair drones, which was only added after people started saying that NSO is a support faction. Like come on, you can't even use double booster max, which probably is the most supportive thing you can do to your teammate in the game. So here it is. The statement NSO is a support faction is a myth. And the truth is, NSO is just bad.